The Minnesota Vikings have been linked to a brand new cornerback coming from the Buffalo Bills in free agency. We're going to be talking about what this means for the Minnesota Vikings, as well as why this could be one of the sneakier signings here in this offseason. We're going to break it all down here in this video. But ladies and gentlemen, we are currently standing at 909 subscribers. We're very close to 1K, and that has been our goal for a long time. So if you guys are watching this video right now and not hit the sub button, be sure to do so. You'll have all your Minnesota Vikings news right here. But Griff, without any further ado, let's get into this report. Starting off here with a little prediction here from Corey Woodruff. He predicts that the Vikings will continue their 2025 spending spree by signing Rasul Douglas, whose Spotrac projects will land in the range of a $12 million deal annually. Here is his take. It's pretty vanilla, so I don't know why this was just not featured in the regular article here, but Douglas could join the red-hot Vikings, who need an additional cornerback help. He remains a steady starter, and that has been one thing the Vikings are looking for. A steady starter, a corner who can come into this season and just, they don't have to be a star. They just need to produce at a consistent level. We have our stars. We have a very solid defense. We just need players who can come in here day in, day out, get stuff done. That's what the main concern is for the Vikings right now, looking for this corner depth. And we will get into the depth chart here in a minute and kind of what we're looking at on the defensive side of things. But Griffen, how do you feel about a guy like Rasul Douglas? And we will have a few more options here later on the video of a currently available cornerbacks, but of the midst of these and all of these other available options, Rasul Douglas seems like one who is really, a bit older, but still trending in an upwards direction.
Yeah, the Vikings clearly aren't done spending money, and they're going after depth pieces now, because we were talking about it before we were recording that if this Vikings team stays healthy, they are going to be one of the best teams in the league, hands down, and one of the Super Bowl favorites. However, the key to that is staying healthy. And if you can't stay healthy, you got to have guys that are perfect at that depth position where they can step up and not be a liability. We were talking about how before with Garrett Bradbury, as expensive as it'll be to have him as a backup center, and he's likely going to be out of Minnesota, we both liked the possibility of him being a backup center just because we saw what happened when Christian Darrisaw went down, how he had to scramble and go get Cam Robinson. Saw what happened when Brian O'Neill went down in the playoffs and what happened to the O-line when that happened. So Minnesota wants to make sure that, hey, we have the guys that are all good starters right now. We have that set. Our starting lineup for day one is pretty much good to go. Now we have to worry about the depth pieces, making sure that we have the guys where if someone gets hurt or they're sick for a game or there's something that happens, a suspension, who knows, you have someone in there that can fill in, isn't going to be a major detriment to your team where quarterbacks are going to pick them apart, especially in the secondary when our pass rushers can't get there. And this is a defensive unit where we pride ourselves on creating turnovers and opportunities. So if we don't have one of our top guys in there and we have to put someone else in, better be damn sure that there's someone who can create opportunities for us.
Yeah, and it seems like that's been a big focus for the Vikings here in this offseason thus far. And obviously, with the entire cornerback room really just getting gone in free agency or having to be re-signed, whatnot, so all of them being free agents, it really caused some issues for the Vikings. But so far, at least, they've been trending in the right direction once again. And obviously, they're still going to be looking to add some more, whether that is in the draft, which is another big opportunity where you can get someone on the cheaper side, but being able to go and get more of these guys at a reasonable price, which is something the Vikings are trying still to do, is get the depth at an okay price. Now, right now, they're still around $30 million, which is a big part of it here, and I'll try and find this. Here we go. $30 million in the cap space currently on the Vikings, so that does give them enough room to be able to go still and get some stars, but also be able to go and still add a lot of depth, which is one thing that, as you mentioned, we've seen be a very big problem for the Vikings over the past few seasons. And when we're looking at the defensive depth chart right now, there's a lot of names here that are very, very good. And, we have our star power. We have everything that we need. We have a lot of extra players as well that are already there on the depth. But the corners are still the one thing that I myself right now, and I'm sure you are, Griffen, as well, not just 100% confident on just yet. I still want to see more. Obviously, Cam Bynum is still a very hard hole to fill, and I wouldn't say they've done that yet. And obviously, adding Isaiah Rodgers, Theo Jackson to the secondary still kind of make up for that in that sense. But Cam Bynum is a guy that has been in the Viking system for a lot, and he's known a lot about the system, and he understands it well. And although he may not be as skilled as some other players, knowing the system well is one thing that will give you a few extra bonus points on the defensive scheme. So looking at this, we do need to see just a bit more. And when we're looking at the rest of the, or not the rest, I should say, but some of the top available cornerbacks right now, with Rasul Douglas being hovered around guys like Jeff Okudah, James Bradbury, Stephon Gilmore, former Viking, he's there around some names that really make sense once again. But of this group here and being around a $12 million player, so maxing out this list here on the market value, There are a lot of other players to think about who will fit best and whatnot, but I do like Rasul here as a player who is more of a veteran, but as I mentioned, still, not trending all the way up, but he's still on that pathway of, he's not regressing just yet. So, Griffen, when you're looking at these players here, of course, there's options that have been around the NFL before, but there's also some younger options like Jeff Okudah, who's been around, but has also feels like he's been in the league forever and still only 26 years old. Is there anybody else here that, apart from Rasul Douglas, you kind of like in the direction of a Minnesota Vikings potential signing?
Yeah, I like Okuda mainly because he gave the Vikings some problems when he was with Detroit. So I like the idea of poaching him so we can kind of get a measure of revenge. Same with James Bradbury from the Eagles. Hey, we took Isaiah Rodgers. Let's take another one of their guys while we're at it. So there's a few options here where Minnesota has to play with. However, I think with Rasul Douglas, there's even more incentive there where he was a former Packer. We can beat the hell out of the Packers twice a year with Rasul Douglas as well. So there's some incentive there to bring him in, but I do like the idea of having a solid veteran guy as that depth piece, and you can rotate him in and out. Or Josh Metellus, he's a kind of a jack of all trades guy where if we need to play him at safety for a lot this year, that's where Rasul Douglas will pop in when Isaiah Rodgers needs a bit of a break or Byron Murphy needs a snap break. You swap those guys out, then you put someone in there where you're not going to get exposed for one or two plays. You have a guy in there that can go in, give those guys a one or two play break, and then just go and shut guys down as well. Or if they come out with four wide or five wide even, you have some extra insurance in the secondary on that as well too. So there's going to be a few things for Minnesota to do here. I don't know what exactly they're planning, if they're going to go the free agency route for this, like they've been continuing to do, or if they're going to invest in the draft, kind of try and go the Cam Dantzler route and try and get somebody that can be a gem. Malachi Starks is out there, Jahdae Barron. Malachi Starks more of a safety, but can be utilized in both ways, like a Swiss Army knife, like Josh Metellus, which I like the idea of having two Swiss Army knives. You can't have too many of those on a team. We've seen what teams can do when they put the right type of player like that in the right system, and they do very well. So I like that idea as well. But Jahdae Barron, I think he'd be a great corner to fit in for Minnesota as well as a rookie. But if we're going with if we're going with free agencies, I do love the idea of going with a veteran like Rasul Douglas.
Yeah, I really like almost everybody here. Stephon Gilmore, still a great player, but just right now for the Minnesota Vikings, we saw him last year getting a bit older. We saw the regression just a bit, but now as you continue to get older at the age of 34, it's going to catch up on you quick. But apart from him, I really don't mind anybody else here. And of course, I think the price is going to be a big option. We're looking at the market value currently of $12 million for Rasul Douglas at 30 years old, and I don't hate the idea of it. And as you see, the market value there is 3 years for $35 million, just under $12 million a year. And I don't hate it. He'll become around 33 years old, going on 34 when that contract does expire, but he doesn't need to be that star cornerback, which is the big thing that I'm okay with giving him that money at that age and, in that role. We see Byron Murphy being the guy that is going to be this number one now. Of course, the draft is still an option to be able to go get another one of these guys. So I do think the Vikings are going to focus on what the deal is with the rest of the season, the offseason, going into the contracts, whatnot. Of course, they have potential of signing Aaron Rodgers, whatever's going on there. There's a lot of stuff that could still be moved and done by the Vikings to go and sign some extra additions, and Rasul Douglas would take up just under half of that. So I don't hate the idea. I think there's still a lot of options here. I think there's a lot of stuff on the table, and I don't think, here's the main thing, I don't think the Vikings are going to rush this decision. There's still a lot of great free agents left. There's still the draft. They don't want to go out and get somebody just to add into this depth chart. They want to go out and get the right guy. And that's what we've been saying after all of these main signings have been done. They're going to hand choose these players now based on what their specific needs are, but also how these players fit into the scheme. So I'm excited to see where the rest of the corner comes from, whether it is going to be the draft, whether it is going to be free agency, whether it is going to be via trade. We never really know at this point. I feel like this is the point in the offseason where a lot of these free agents are going to be in the unknown, not just on the team's aspect of things, but them as well. I'm sure they know that there's going to be some teams talking to them, but we probably won't really know until we actually see some sort of signing come, or hours before some signing by some analyst breaking this down. So let us know what you think. Who do you want to see in this cornerback room? Is Rasul Douglas an option? Is he one of your tops? Is it going to be any of the other guys, or do you want to see a trade? And let us know what you think in the comments below. But Griffen, do you got anything else before we finish the video off here?
This free agency has been crazy. I'm happy that Minnesota is going out and getting the pieces that they've needed. Kwesi's followed up on almost everything that he said he was going to do, and all on his way to earning himself a very nice extension that will probably be forthcoming within the next little bit as well. So I really like what we're doing here. This is one of the most optimistic free agencies we've had, and we're heading into a very optimistic draft and training camp where we could have a very special Minnesota Vikings team this season. I've already been seeing the hype videos pop up around social media, and the hype is already insane. Vikings fans are probably among the most excited among in football fans heading into next season, and they have very good reason to be. It's going to be a lot of fun bringing you guys a lot of updates as this happens, heading into the draft, hyping all of that up. You guys blew up our last video so well, so make sure to smash that subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you don't miss the new episodes. We're going to be busy all off season and keep on cooking up for the draft.
Yeah, I'm going to argue that this is a very interesting point in the offseason. We're going to get a lot of these little tidbits come out that you may miss, and you're not going to miss it here if you hit the sub button, so be sure to do so. But that's all we got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like. As Griffen said, hit the sub button as well. But we're signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.